Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to this seminar. We have the pleasure to talk today about the anti-Semitism, and we are happy to hold those seminars that is interested in Africa and the Middle East, and this is considered the third or the fourth. We are now having or hosting Abdellah Benhessi. He is a researcher in the anti-Semitism, and he's one of the founders that work in this field in Asia. And he's one of the pioneers who worked in this field and hold relationships with Israel and the youth and the Israeli political youth, even regarding political or scientific means, and what we see today regarding Abraham agreements. And also in the light of the relationships between Morocco and Israel today. He is an activist, and we would like to thank him so much for being here today with us. He will speak today in Arabic. He will give us a presentation about the new ways of anti-Semitism in Morocco. You have 25 to 30 minutes to say your presentation, and Manel will have to comment on the presentation, and we will give chances to the attendees to ask questions as well, and to discuss with us so we can finish on time. Good morning. Hi, everyone. It's a great honor to meet everyone and speak in this seminar about anti-Semitism in Morocco and all Arab countries. I will speak in Arabic, and I hope you understand everything I say. And please ask questions and gain from my experience in this field, or you can text me on Morocco. Feel free to ask and get any other explanation needed. Hello, everyone. I'm happy today to participate in this seminar. As requested, I will talk. Can you hear me? I will talk today about how to combat anti-Semitism. I worked with Abdurrahim a lot about the society conversations on how to accept the other and how to combat the anti-Semitism. Along 14 years now, we've been working on this field with Israel and lots of professors. Since 2009, there were lots of journalists and lots of reporters who visited Morocco, and we had lots of discussions. At this time, we had lots of firm discussions around this topic and about the thoughts, the pictures, about the antisemitism and the relationship between Israeli and Moroccans. First of all, I would like to talk about the negative impact, how it negatively impacts, and how the negative ideology produce conflicts. This society discussions really causes lots of conflicts, and it's still going on till today in lots of forms. In general, in journalism, in reports, political speeches, in general, in Morocco, it's happening. And I would like to focus the light that there are lots of Islamic groups that used to give negative thoughts and negative impact on the Middle East and uses those thoughts on gaining grounds in the social media and uses these topics and issues to gain grounds along the political discussions. We had to differentiate between those political groups that used to use those topics and ideas to gain grounds regarding the Islamic groups like the Muslim Brotherhood. These are listed as terrorist group, and there are lots of other illicit groups that uses those moves probably here within Morocco, like the Moroccan group that fight for on behalf of Palestinians. Some other Islamic groups participated with those groups. Those are political groups that used the Islamic garment to gain grounds with the Moroccan societies. One of them believes that no one should be in the Middle East except the democratic states. And this ideology that the Islamic groups marketed for or tried to spread is a historical way that they used along the Middle East and the Moroccan country. Also, there were set of incidents we have seen. There are lots of youth that's been used in the Middle East and Morocco that used to work under this ideology and these Islamic groups and Islamic movements. They are trying to recruit more people to believe in their beliefs and work with them. They are trying to use some walls like the flip cross that is a sign for some movements and some groups here in Morocco. There is another movement in Morocco, and this represents the conflict between the political and the religious conflicts, and it is working here in the Moroccan society. They are working against the Jews here in Morocco. They are trying to educate about the Israel and the Jewish identity, and they are trying to influence how the media talk about the Jewish community or the Israeli community. Also, it affects the history of the Israelis and the Jews. We somehow accept the Israeli and the Jewish attendance or existence here in Morocco because we are not very much affected by these Islamic groups or the Islamic movements. I worked along with some spokesmen and under some discussion groups that discussed how we see these movements and how we see group of points regarding educational points, but I think our ideology still needs to work on and needs to be reformed regarding the anti-Semitism. There are some Quran verses that are explained against the Jews. Some of the sheikhs or some of the people that should explain it, they cannot explain it fully or in the right way. We have spent a day about the anti-Semitism rhetorical, and we discussed all the points in it. And Abdurrahim Shahibi attended this day or this seminar that we had here. And we wanted to stop the anti-Israeli rhetorical, and we have reported a detailed report about how to stop the anti-Israeli rhetorical and how we see this can happen in Morocco or in the Middle East. And what's the strategy that we see to stop and prevent the anti-Israel and the Israel hatred? Also, we represented a national plan to stop this situation that we see. It's not like a general plan, but it includes some points And we also highlighted some negative points that is listed under this topic. If you have any additions in this discussion or questions, I am ready to accept or answer any questions and to explain. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Abdullah, and thank you for your speech. You started to talk about your personal experience with working on anti-Semitism. Well, and you mentioned all the points and the discussions and how can we avoid the Israeli hatred and how can we stop it and how to fight the anti-Semitism, especially after Abraham agreements and have lots of groups and lots of movements for uh, anti-Semitism or trying to spread anti-Semitism. Now I will leave the field to Manal Al-Salmi if she has anything to add or questions or comments. Manal Al-Salmi, she's from Tunis and it's somehow a neighbor to Morocco. And also she knows a lot about anti-Semitism. She knows a lot about the topic. Go ahead, Manal. Thank you, Abdulrahim. Thank you, Abdallah, for this speech and those clarifications. They are very bold. Talking in this topic needs boldness and need courage to talk about these issues we are having in our communities in Morocco and in general in the Middle East. Morocco is one of the countries that can be used an example on fighting the anti-Semitism, but there are some activists that are doing lots of efforts to stop the anti-Semitisms in the Moroccan countries and in the Middle East. And you have mentioned in your speech that there are some left Islamic groups. How would those groups work to gain grounds or empathy through the societies? Do you think their speech or their ideology towards the social media and towards societies really affects the youth? And we know that Morocco had large steps in fighting the anti-Semitism and to stop all hatred rhetoricals. I think that Ibrahim mentioned that I am Tunisian and I work here in Belgium with the Moroccans and the Tunisians, and we see that there is big targeting on the media, especially among the elites. I think that the left movement, especially the politics, they have lots of work on this because they want to fight friendship and they don't want us to stop the anti-Israeli rhetoric or the anti-Semitism. What do you think about these Islamic groups that are marketing for this hatred? The Moroccan societies has been peacefully living, and they are all living together in a peaceful environment. But those special groups or Islamic radical groups are targeting this peaceful living, and they want to market for the hatred or spread the hatred, and they are trying to stop the democratic way of living, especially the Moroccan communities and the Middle East in general. Thank you so much, Mrs. Manel. I have the pleasure of knowing you, and we will have lots of work in common in future regarding Morocco and in general. To be able to understand more how those Islamic groups work, we have to admit that they use the youth and use the political views, especially among ignorance that cannot read or write, and they are only watching the media. Those Islamic groups, they use all the ideologies and all the social media to market for their ideas. Some of them work from North Africa, from out of the Moroccan grounds. There is an association called Al Iman Association. This is a tribe. There are lots of tribes and other clans as well who work in this field. In Morocco in general, in 1991, there were lots of activists, especially when they announced the country of Israel. If you read Morocco history, you will know that. And there was an Egyptian man, and he was the main founder for this Islamic group regarding racism and hatred of Jews in all the communities, especially in Morocco and the Middle East. It is dangerous that some countries they host or they financially support those Islamic movements or Islamic groups because they want to spread this kind of hatred ideology among the Islamic countries like Qatar and Turkey, some of the Levi groups, also other groups and some Islamic groups, political groups, they support this ideology. But here in Morocco, these Islamic groups, there are lots of hatred groups that hate Turkey and against Turkey, and they are trying to educate the community about what the others are doing. Even Qatar and Al Jazeera channel, media channel that promotes for lots of negative hatred, rhetorical against living peacefully together. The media is very powerful. They uses and influence hundreds of people in Morocco and lots of other countries in the area, but unfortunately, here in Morocco, we are trying in future to get a special law that stop people from the anti-Israeli rhetorical or the anti-Semitism rhetorical and make it illegal. So that will stop people from the hatred. We want to promote this in the media and put it out for discussion, general discussions among the community. And we are optimistic that the authorities here will help with this law. Thank you so much for your answer. Thank you, Abdallah. Thank you, Manel. As we mentioned, if there is a question or any topic for discussion, please go ahead. Or you can write it down in the chat and we will say it. We want to talk about the role of the social media. You mentioned Al Jazeera channel, media channel. Most of our hosts, they refer to Al Jazeera media channel. Is it a bad channel or promoting for the anti-Semitism? Thank you so much for asking this question. Personally, it is dangerous. We have to know that most of people, 90% of people, they get their information from the social media, especially the Al Jazeera media channel, because they have a rhetorical that's kind of warning. Some people are very limited in their information and limited in their education, and they use those channels as a main source of information. And they create a general opinion or a public opinion through those channels, and it promotes for the anti-Israeli rhetoric or anti-Semitism. They give information about, or they give false information, especially Al Jazeera channel. We have to be aware and we have to know that they are not as popular as before. We have lots of seminars and forums here in Morocco to educate people and to educate them about Israel and educate them about the hatred and how to stop this and to how to put highlight on all the issues and all the points and all the information, if it's good or bad, if it's important or not important. We discuss everything. We speak about hatred. We speak about the activists and what they promote for. Also, whatever is there in the news channels, we discuss everything and we give awareness to people here in Morocco. So when others try to speak to them about hatred or anti-Semitism, they are educated and they will stop the people that trying to promote for this or trying to do any hatred act. We have to have a role in educating others and give awareness to others and give awareness to the population of our countries, especially in North Africa. We have to adopt the political acts or political awareness and how to live in a civilian environment. Thank you so much. I have a question. You spoke about the Moroccan communities on Morocco. Here in Europe, in America, we have a big problem about the anti-Semitism, especially from the Islamic communities. How can we stop the anti-Semitism, especially among youth? We have seen lots of demonstrations from the youth in the universities, in the colleges, and we have seen that youth, especially the Moroccan and the Muslim communities here, is very influenced by the hatred rhetorical, and they are influenced with all the social media that they are all, at the end of the day, fake news. Choosing the right news, how to choose the right news, and how this Jazeera is promoting for wrong news and changing the facts and giving false information. Those are real issues. We have a lots of big problems here in Europe and in America in the light of the anti-Semitism and the hatred for the Jews. How can we stop it? Thank you, Manel. We have seen this recently. That's correct. And I will give you an example about what happened in the football or the soccer matches in Holland. The Israelis that attended the football match. This is a fact. We have to look into this and get an insight of what's happening, and this people that attended the football match and how they were influenced by the anti-Israeli rhetorical and the anti-Semitism. The hatred was a main reason why this happened in the football match. Regarding what's happening in Europe and America, this topic has been brought up several times. If this hatred is not stopped and this rhetorical is not stopped and these messages through the social media has to stop. It starts with the news and then it transfers to the social media. The problem is that when those messages are sent through Al Jazeera or any other channels and you let it go without being told for it, then we are letting these messages to be spread and promoted regarding the hatred rhetorical and regarding the fake news and all the bad news and the bad messages, because this charges the people with slogans, with false news. This is like a bomb that will explode at any time. It's matter of time and this will explode. For those countries, they have to be abide with ethical codes, and there should be international countries to ask for closing Al Jazeera channel and put some red lines for those messages, there are people behind that gets benefit of this, and they are using the slogan of freedom to promote for this. But it is misused here. It is misused to spread false information. As I mentioned, that there are hatred here, and they are trying to promote for anti-Semitism rhetorical, and we are discussing a law now that will prevent this, which will make this rhetorical illegal. So this will definitely and directly stop this kind of messages from being there. We have to know that the Moroccans around the globe gets their ideology, gets their information from what's going on or what is happening on Morocco grounds. So they are getting their news, their information, their ideology from what is going on in Morocco. So applying this kind of law of having this hatred illegal will prevent them all over the world from thinking this way or having this hatred messages or the anti-Semitism, especially in Belgium. So the Moroccans in Belgium will know about that anti-Semitism is illegal and they will stop thinking this way because Morocco issued this kind of law and this is illegal now. I hope this will go from Morocco to Tunis to the other North African countries and make this illegal. I agree with you. This influence on the societies, if the Moroccan society has special laws that make sure that everyone has their freedom of religion, peace among the communities. So this is a very civilian way of living, and we have to follow these laws. And this also will affect the hatred rhetoric among Europe as well. But as you mentioned, there are political groups in Europe and in Belgium and in America. And those political groups, they want to give or want to gain electoral votes and they want to gain more people and they want to gain empathy through the anti-Semitism rhetorical and the hatred rhetorical. That's why they are trying to promote for those messages through the social media and the news channels. That's why they are promoting for this hatred, and this will cause some negative influence on the communities in Europe. I hope that the new president, Donald Trump, and the way he see topics and issues, he will be more supportive for those kind of laws in Morocco and for Moroccans. There is also difference between the hatred rhetorical and the hatred crimes. The hatred evolves and develops. I think if we have some special laws that make this kind of ideology or actions illegal, so this is the first step to stop it. Thank you so much, Abdallah. Thank you, Manal. I want to ask you something here. What has Abraham agreements add regarding to Israel and other countries in North Africa? What has those relationships add to the rhetorical or the anti-Semitism rhetorical, and how the Moroccan communities see this and how they will open to others, for example, with the Jews, and what are the activities that you think will change? I think 1 week ago they found out about a terrorism group in Morocco and it has been disseminated. Those youth that has been misused, they are very fragile. However, they are the victims of the religious, rhetorical, and religious views. I would start that they are victim of the anti-Semitism. What's the relationship between the anti-Semitism and the radicalism? What's the relationship between the anti-Semitism and the radicalism or the extremist ideology? Well, first, I would like to answer about the Abraham Agreement here in Morocco and the Middle East, especially after signing the agreement. It is an official agreement that happened between us and others. However, it didn't go beyond the saloons or the conferences halls that happened in it now. But we have to take it to the grounds now. We want to say that 2 years after signing this agreement, this discussion is back. Even the identity itself is back for the misuse and promoting for these agreements among the social media. Lots of people or lots of viewers think that the agreement didn't go forward. In spite that those agreements were signed formally, however, the civilians didn't implement in kind of activities, in kind of action points. If we look into the Moroccan youth, it's kind of political protocol for signing this agreement, but the general perspective for this agreement wasn't followed. For example, Jordan and Israel, the Moroccans see this as agreement or official agreement. The tourism stayed. There were some airline lines opened. The tourism is still happening in the light of Abraham Agreement. I hope that we would implement in higher levels this letter or agreement. I would think that we will exchange thinkers or we will exchange activists, activities, plays, anything that can be exchanged between us that will be for the benefit of everyone. It was just a paper agreement that's been signed, but it wasn't implemented on the grounds. Regarding the terrorists, it's not only in Morocco, but it's in lots of places. And I explained to Manal that Morocco in general is part of the Middle East. There is a relationship that's going up and down in the light of the deserts around us and in the Middle East. There are lots of victims here. They are the actors. They are used as tools in those groups that are trying to create environment that it's not peace or is not stable in Morocco. So they are used to tools to create unstable environment in Morocco, but they are fragile. They are not happy about our situation. They are trying to create chaos. So they are used as tools to do some terrorist acts and terrorist problems. If there are no other questions, I can comment on what he has said. Ibrahim's question was very good question. Those agreements, as you have mentioned, those were paper agreements only, but I would imagine the politicians have a view. It's a long-term view. We don't think that the populations or societies are ready to implement such agreements. However, after those agreements, we will work on a long-term plan to live together and exchange cultures. For myself as a researcher and having students around, I saw lots of students, especially from Morocco, and some of them visited Israel. And the thing that really influenced them living with other youth and having exchanges in tasks, skills, cultures, especially in universities. I am an activist and I like Morocco. As you have mentioned, not all the countries participated in those skills or researches through the universities or students. There were some exchanges with Emirates, but not with Bahrain. It wasn't huge in Bahrain in the students and universities. But maybe in the future, we would see more students students that looking for peace and looking for living together, accepting others, and scientific exchange in the future. Thank you so much. You are right what you have said. It is correct. Regarding Morocco, we have organized 6 visits. Some of them were in the last 2 months, but unfortunately, I have a special view in this subject. What is the purpose behind this visit? How would this implement this in future benefit? What are we getting to know through this visit? What will be used or invested in Morocco, for example? I am talking about my personal experience here regarding journalists and the professors. Those two, they benefited the most from those visits from both sides, who visited here and there. They have visited their peers in the universities, and some of them did more studies like masters or PhDs. And this opened for new channels to gain in the Moroccan universities in Fas, and some others who work now in Rabat, and some of the universities and other universities in Israel. Some of the journalists were happy about the visits that happened in the past. There were more topics, especially in the newspapers that were published in both sides by the journalists. I don't see that there were other significant influence that can be used in the future. I think they need to have or create a program and implement it, especially for Morocco and other countries like Algiers. They have special circumstances, and every country has their own circumstances, and they can deal with Israel in a different way. Some other countries, they do not state or believe that Israel is a state, and they don't want to have any relationship or activities with Israel. We are now reached the end of this seminar. The end of this ISGAP seminar regarding the Middle East. Next week, we'll have another session in French or Spanish, but it will be the 5th cycle regarding the Middle East. We will have our host, Mr. Abdelaziz from Awagadir, and we want to thank Abdullah a lot for his contribution here and participation regarding this seminar. Thank you so much.